Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Terra's Hope and watched the massive space station grow larger in the view screen. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It spun slowly in the darkness of space, its lights making it look like a jewel against the stars. This was it. This was the moment humanity had waited 50 years for. Jake felt his heart beating fast in his chest. Behind him, Dr. Linda Hayes was checking her notes for the 100th time. She carried humanity's future in those papers. Every achievement, every discovery, every reason why Earth deserved a place among the stars. "Coming up on Docking Bay 7, reported Lieutenant Sam Carter from the pilot's seat. His voice was steady, but Jake could hear the tension underneath. The space station belonged to the Galactic Federation. 12 alien races controlled everything beyond Earth's small corner of space. They had technology that seemed like magic to humans. Ships that could cross the galaxy in days. Weapons that could destroy entire planets. Medical knowledge that could cure any disease. For 50 years, humanity had worked to prove they were ready to join this great community. They had built their first faster-than-light ship. They had learned to speak the common galactic language. They had prepared gifts of art, music, and science to show what humans could offer. Jake remembered the day the invitation finally came. The entire planet had celebrated. Earth's greatest minds had been chosen for this mission. Dr. Hayes was the smartest person Jake had ever met. She could speak 7 alien languages and had studied every known species in the galaxy. The docking process was smooth. The aliens had technology that guided their ship in without any help from the human crew. Jake felt a small sting of embarrassment. Even something as simple as parking a ship was beyond human ability. They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls were made of some material that shifted colors as they moved. Other beings walked past them. Jake saw creatures with 4 arms and blue skin. Others looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. One group had tentacles instead of hands and floated above the ground. All of them stared at the humans. Some looked curious. Others seemed disgusted. A few laughed at the strange aliens from the backward planet Earth. The council chamber was enormous. 12 raised platforms surrounded a central stage where Dr. Hayes would make her presentation. Each platform held representatives from the different species that ruled the galaxy. Jake took his place in the viewing area with the rest of the human delegation. Dr. Hayes walked to the center stage alone. She looked so small, surrounded by all those alien beings who held humanity's future in their hands. Chancellor Vexitar of the Nixari spoke first. His people looked almost human, except for their silver skin and completely black eyes. They were known as the greatest scientists in the galaxy. His voice came through a translator device that made it sound cold and mechanical. "The beings from Earth come before us seeking membership in our great federation. We will hear their petition." Dr. Hayes began her presentation. She showed images of human art. Paintings by masters like Da Vinci and Van Gogh filled the air above the stage. She played music from Beethoven and Mozart. She explained human scientific discoveries and medical advances. Jake watched the alien faces as she spoke. Some looked bored. Others seemed annoyed that they had to waste time on this. A few appeared to be sleeping. The presentation lasted 2 hours. Dr. Hayes covered everything from human philosophy to their recent breakthrough in quantum physics. She spoke about human courage and determination. She talked about how much humanity wanted to contribute to galactic civilization. When she finished, the chamber fell silent. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in the quiet. High Mind Scylla Eth of the Zephyrian spoke next. Her people were telepaths who could read thoughts and speak mind to mind. She did not need the translator device. "These humans are children playing with fire. They have barely left their homeworld. They still fight wars among themselves. They cannot even control their own violent nature. How can such beings contribute to our peaceful galaxy?" Jake felt his face grow hot with anger, but he stayed quiet. War Commander Thysol of the Krillians stood up. His species looked like giant reptiles walking on 2 legs. They were the military arm of the Federation. Worse than children, these humans are dangerous. They have nuclear weapons pointed at their own people. They destroy their own planet with pollution. They are a threat that should be contained, not welcomed. One by one, each species spoke against humanity. They called humans primitive, violent, and unworthy. They said Earth was too backward to understand galactic civilization. They claimed humans were too stupid to be trusted with advanced technology. Jake wanted to stand up and shout at them. He wanted to tell them about human heroes who had died to save others, about human scientists who had worked their whole lives to cure diseases, about human artists who had created beauty that moved people to tears. But he could only sit and listen as his species was judged and found wanting. Chancellor Vexitar called for the vote. 12 lights appeared above each platform. One by one, they all turned red. 12 votes against, 0 votes for humanity. The petition is denied, Vexitar announced. Furthermore, the species known as humans are hereby classified as quarantined. They will remain within their current territory of 3-star systems. Any human vessel found beyond these boundaries will be destroyed without warning. No galactic citizen may trade with or assist these beings in any way. Dr. Hayes stood alone on the stage as the alien representatives began to leave. Jake saw tears running down her face. All those years of preparation, all those hopes and dreams, gone in a few minutes of cold judgment. The human delegation walked back to their ship in silence. Nobody spoke during the long journey home. What was there to say? They had been rejected not just as members, but as a species worthy of respect. Jake stood on the bridge as Earth appeared on the view screen. The blue and white planet looked so small and alone in the vast darkness of space. 3-star systems. That was all humanity would ever have. They were prisoners in their own corner of the galaxy, watched by guards who saw them as dangerous animals. As Terra's hope entered Earth's atmosphere, Jake made a silent promise. Someday, somehow, humanity would prove those aliens wrong. They would show the galaxy what humans were really capable of. He just hoped he would live to see that day. 20 years had passed since the Great Rejection. Earth looked very different now. The blue skies were filled with ships coming and going from orbital factories. The moon had been turned into a massive shipyard where new vessels were built every day. Mars was covered with cities full of people who had never seen their home planet. President Alex Chen stood in the war room deep under New Washington. Around him, the best minds of humanity worked at computer stations that hummed with power. The screen showed star maps, ship positions, and weapon designs that would have seemed impossible 20 years ago. Admiral Katie Sullivan walked up to the president. She had been a young lieutenant when Terra's hope returned with news of humanity's rejection. Now her uniform carried the weight of commanding Earth's entire defense fleet. "The new ships are ready," she reported. "All 15 colonies have their defense platforms online. Dr. Clark's AI systems are working better than we hoped." President Chen nodded. In the past 20 years, humanity had done something the aliens never expected. Instead of giving up, they had worked harder than ever before. Cut off from galactic trade, they had learned to make everything themselves. Forbidden from expanding, they had built the most advanced colonies in known space within their small territory. Dr. Ben Clark looked up from his computer station. His hair had gone gray from years of working 18-hour days. The AI systems he had created were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of following rigid programming like alien computers, these artificial minds could think and adapt like humans. "The quantum barrier breakthrough is confirmed," he said with excitement in his voice. "Dr. Kim's team did it. We can now jump instantly across any distance. The Federation will never see us coming." Commander Lisa Park stood near a holographic display showing the human fleet. She had overseen the construction of every ship, every weapon, every defense system. The vessels looked nothing like the sleek alien designs. Human ships were built for war, not beauty. "We have 1,200 combat ships ready," she reported. "Each one can appear anywhere in the galaxy in seconds. Each one carries weapons that can punch through any known armor." The president walked to the main display. It showed their 3-star systems surrounded by a red line. Beyond that line was forbidden space where humans could not go. Beyond that line was a galaxy that had rejected them and tried to cage them like animals. An alarm began to sound. Technician Gary Moore's hands flew over his controls as data poured in from the outer sensor stations. "Sir, We're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of our territory. Multiple fleets are jumping in, thousands of ships. Admiral Sullivan, move to her command station. Battle stations, all ships to ready positions. This is it, people. The main screen changed to show what the sensors were detecting. Ship after ship appeared in flashes of light. The Federation had come in force. Jake Morrison, now commanding the flagship Defiance, reported from the outer system. 50,000 ships and counting. Every species in the Federation is here. They're not here to talk. President Chen felt his hands clench into fists. For 20 years, humanity had prepared for this moment. The aliens had decided that humans were too dangerous to be left alone. They had come to finish what they started with, the quarantine. Dr. Hayes, now working as Secretary of Galactic Affairs, had warned them this might happen. The Federation's spy drones had been watching human progress. They had seen the rapid advances in technology. They had seen the new colonies and the growing fleet. They had decided to act before humanity became too strong. War Commander Thisal's voice came over the communication channel. His reptilian face filled the screen, just as arrogant as it had been 20 years ago. Humans of Earth, you have violated the terms of your quarantine by developing forbidden technologies. Your rapid expansion threatens galactic peace. Surrender, now, and submit to Federation control, or face the consequences. President Chen stepped forward to reply. War Commander, we have not left our territory. We have followed every rule you imposed on us. We are defending our own space. Your weapons are too advanced for a quarantined species. Your AI systems are beyond what primitives should possess. This proves you have stolen Federation technology. Prepare to be cleansed from the galaxy. The transmission ended. The president looked around the war room at the people who would decide humanity's fate. Scientists who had worked miracles with limited resources. Soldiers who had trained for a war they hoped would never come. Leaders who had kept the human spirit alive during 20 years of isolation. Katie, give the order. Operation Ghost begins. Now. Admiral Sullivan nodded and activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan. You know what to do. Show them what humans are capable of. Across human space, 1,200 ships activated their new cloaking systems and vanished from all sensors. The Federation fleet found themselves staring at empty space where moments before they had detected a growing human military presence. Admiral Kethmore of the Nexari commanded the Federation forces from his flagship Eternal Victory. His silver face showed confusion as his sensors detected nothing where intelligence reports had shown major human installations. Scan again. They must be hiding behind their planets. Sir, we're detecting no ships, no defense platforms, no energy signatures. It's like they just disappeared. The Federation fleet spread out through the 3 human systems. They found colonies that appeared to be abandoned. Space stations that showed no signs of life. It was as if every human in the galaxy had simply vanished. High Mind Silaeth tried to use her telepathic abilities to locate human minds. She had done this successfully against dozens of species during previous Federation conquests. But human thoughts were different. They were chaotic, unpredictable, impossible to pin down. Every time she thought she had found a human mind, it slipped away like water through her fingers. Commander Danny Wright watched from the bridge of his cloaked destroyer as alien ships passed within a few hundred meters of his position. His crew was perfectly silent, knowing that even a whisper might give them away. Target the command ship, he whispered to his weapons officer. 1 shot, then jump out. The destroyer's main gun charged up with energy that could cut through the strongest alien armor. The shot took 3 seconds to cross the distance to the Federation flagship. The alien ship's shields flared and died as the weapon punched through them like they were made of paper. Before the aliens could even identify where the attack came from, the human ship had vanished again. Similar attacks began happening throughout the Federation fleet. Ships would appear from nowhere, fire once, then disappear before return fire could be targeted. The aliens found themselves fighting ghosts. War Commander Thysol watched his fleet take damage from an enemy he could not see. His tactical computers could not predict where the next attack would come from because humans did not follow any logical battle plan. They struck randomly, retreated when they should advance, and advanced when any sane commander would retreat. Admiral Kethmore's perfect battle algorithms had never failed in 1,000 years of warfare. They had conquered dozens of worlds by calculating every possible enemy move. But human tactics made no sense. Every time the computer predicted their next action, the humans did something completely different. Commander Nina Foster led her squadron. In a series of attacks that seemed to have no pattern, she would hit supply ships, then command vessels, then weapons platforms, then medical ships. There was no military logic to her targets. She simply attacked whatever would cause the most confusion. The Federation fleet began to lose formation, as commanders tried to protect against an enemy that could appear anywhere at any time. Ships that had fought together for centuries found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Dr. Clark's AI systems proved their worth as they adapted to each alien weapon faster than the Federation could modify their attacks. The artificial minds learned from every encounter, growing stronger while the rigid alien systems remained unchanged. As the first day of battle ended, the mighty Federation fleet had lost over 5,000 ships to an enemy they had never clearly seen. The humans were fighting a new kind of war, one the aliens had no idea how to win. The second week of the war brought terror to the Federation fleet. Their perfect formations were falling apart as human ships continued to appear and disappear like ghosts in the void. Admiral Kethmore stared at his tactical display, watching. Red marks show where another dozen ships had been destroyed in the last hour. His communication officer looked up with fear in his black eyes. "Sir, we're getting distress calls from all sectors. The humans hit our supply convoy in Sector 7, then appeared in Sector 12 and destroyed 3 battleships. Our scanners show they were in both places at the same time." Kethmore's silver hands gripped his command chair. This was impossible. No species could move ships that fast or coordinate attacks across such vast distances. Yet somehow these primitive humans were doing exactly that. Captain Danny Wright smiled as his destroyer emerged from its quantum jump behind a massive Federation dreadnought. The alien ship was 50 times larger than his vessel, but size meant nothing when the enemy could not see you coming. "Fire all weapons," he ordered quietly. The destroyer's guns tore into the dreadnought's engine section. Secondary explosions rippled along the huge ship's hull as its power systems failed. Before the aliens could even identify their attacker, Wright's ship had vanished again. Miles away, Commander Nina Foster led her squadron in a completely different kind of attack. Instead of hitting military targets, she was disrupting the Federation's communication networks. Her ships would appear next to relay stations, destroy them with quick bursts of weapons fire, then jump away before reinforcements could arrive. "Wolf Pack leader to all units." Wright's voice came over the communication system. "Nice work on those comm stations, Nina. Now their left wing can't talk to their right wing." "Thanks, Danny. How about we really confuse them?" Foster's squadron appeared in the middle of the Federation formation and began broadcasting fake orders on captured communication channels. Half the alien fleet received commands to attack the other half. In the chaos that followed, Federation ships began firing on each other. War Commander Thesol watched his allies destroy each other and roared in frustration. His reptilian face was dark with anger as he tried to restore order to his forces. "Cease. Fire! All units cease fire! Those are not valid orders," but the damage was done. Nearly 100 Federation ships had been destroyed or damaged by friendly fire before the real orders could get through. Dr. Clark monitored the battle from the command center on Earth. His AI systems were processing information faster than any biological mind could handle. Every alien weapon, every tactic, every formation was being analyzed and countered. "The Federation is adapting their shields to our weapons," he reported to Admiral Sullivan. "But our systems are adapting faster. We'll have new weapon frequencies ready in 6 hours." Admiral Sullivan nodded. This was the key to humanity's strategy. While the aliens stuck to rigid tactical doctrines that had worked for centuries, humans embraced change. Every defeat taught them something new. Every victory showed them a better way to fight. Commander Jack Stevens led the most daring attack of the war so far. His squadron had been tasked with destroying the Federation flagship, Eternal Victory. The massive ship was protected by thousands of escort vessels and the strongest shields in the galaxy. Stevens did something no alien commander would ever consider. Instead of attacking from outside the formation, his ships used their quantum jump technology to appear inside the flagship's shield perimeter. All units target the bridge section. We end this now. The human ships opened fire at point-blank range. The flagship's shields had been designed to stop attacks from outside, not from within. Explosions tore through the ship's command decks as the bridge was destroyed. Admiral Kethmore felt his ship shaking apart around him. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows as his crew worked desperately to save their vessel. He had commanded fleets for 300 years, but he had never faced anything like these humans. Sir, all primary systems are offline. We're losing life support. The engines are dead. Kethmore closed his black eyes. The greatest ship in the Nexari fleet was dying, killed by primitives who should not have been able to find it, much less destroy it. High Mind Silith made one last attempt to use telepathic warfare against the humans. She had trained for centuries to perfect her mental abilities. She could crush the minds of most species without even trying. But when she tried to attack human thoughts, something went wrong. Human minds were not organized like other species. They were chaotic, creative, full of random ideas and emotions. When she tried to impose order on that chaos, the mental feedback nearly destroyed her. 3 Zephyrian ships lost power as their crews collapsed from the psychic backlash. Silaheth herself was left unconscious, her perfect telepathic abilities burned out by contact with undisciplined human thoughts. The tide of battle turned completely when Commander Lisa Park led the main human fleet in a massive coordinated attack. Hundreds of ships appeared simultaneously throughout the Federation formation. The aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies who had materialized from nothing. All ships, fire at will, Park ordered. Show them what 20 years of preparation can do. Human weapons designed specifically to counter Federation technology tore through alien defenses like they were made of paper. Ships that had seemed invincible were reduced to scrap metal in seconds. War Commander Thesal tried to rally his forces for a final stand, but it was too late. His fleet was scattered across 3 star systems, cut off from support, taking massive casualties from an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. The Krillian commander had conquered dozens of worlds for the Federation. He had never lost a battle in 200 years of warfare. But these humans were unlike any enemy he had ever faced. They did not follow the rules of war that every civilized species understood. All ships, retreat to Rally Point 7, he finally ordered. The words tasted like poison in his mouth, but he had no choice. To stay would mean the complete destruction of the Federation fleet. The retreat began as a controlled withdrawal, but quickly became a rout. Human ships pursued the fleeing aliens, picking off stragglers and destroying anyone who fell behind. The mighty armada that had come to destroy humanity was running for its life. Admiral Sullivan watched the alien fleet flee on her tactical display. Around her, the command center erupted in cheers as reports of victory came in from all sectors. Casualty report, she requested. 17 ships damaged, 3 destroyed. Federation losses are over 30,000 ships confirmed, with more still being counted. Sullivan allowed herself a small smile. The species that had rejected humanity as too primitive to join their civilization had just been defeated by those same primitives. The Federation's reputation for invincibility was shattered. President Chen joined her at the display. "What's our next move, Admiral?" "We follow them home, sir. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity will not be caged anymore." As the last Federation ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying news of their defeat back to the galactic core, humanity prepared for the next phase of the war. They had proven they could defend themselves. Now they would prove they could fight for others who suffered under Federation rule. The quarantine was broken. Humanity was free, and they intended to free everyone else who had been oppressed by the arrogant aliens who thought they ruled the galaxy. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had lived under Federation rule for centuries whispered in amazement. The humans had done the impossible. They had defeated the mighty Federation fleet and lived to tell about it. President Chen stood in his office looking at reports from across the galaxy. Every day brought new messages from species seeking human help. The Altarian refugees had been driven from their homeworld by Federation expansion. The silicon-based Christek had been enslaved for their natural computing abilities. The peaceful Delphari had been forced to mine dangerous materials for Federation weapons. Dr. Hayes, now serving as Secretary of Galactic Affairs, brought him the latest intelligence reports. Her face showed the anger she felt as she read each story of Federation cruelty. The Krillians are using biological weapons on the Verdani colonies, she reported. The Nixari are experimenting on captured Altarian children. The Zephyrians are forcing telepathic species to become living computers. Chen felt his jaw clench. 20 years of isolation had not made humanity bitter. Instead, it had made them understand what it felt like to be rejected and alone. They would not let others suffer the same fate. Admiral Sullivan entered the office with fleet deployment plans. The human navy had grown rapidly since their victory. New ships were being built in orbital yards around every human world. Volunteers were signing up faster than they could be trained. We have confirmation that the Federation is pulling back from their outer territories, she reported. They're consolidating their forces around their core worlds. But that leaves millions of oppressed beings without protection. Then we protect them, Chen decided. How fast can we deploy? Sullivan smiled. Dr. Kim's quantum jump technology means we can have ships anywhere in the galaxy within hours. The Federation will never see us coming. The first liberation began at dawn on the planet Altair Prime. Commander Lisa Park led a fleet of 200 ships that appeared in the system without warning. The Federation garrison had been expecting a quiet day of oppression. Instead, they found themselves facing the humans who had shattered the Great Federation fleet. The battle was over in minutes. Federation ships that tried to flee were caught by human vessels that could jump instantly across vast distances. Those that tried to fight discovered that human weapons could cut through their defenses like hot knives through ice. Captain Jake Morrison commanded the ground assault team that landed in the planet's capital city. The Altarians watched in amazement as human soldiers fought to free them from their oppressors. These were not conquest forces come to replace one master with another. These were liberators who asked for nothing in return. The Federation garrison has surrendered, Morrison reported to Park's flagship. The planet is secure. The Altarians are free. Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds as human fleets appeared to liberate oppressed species. Each victory brought more volunteers to the human cause. Freed peoples begged for the chance to fight alongside their liberators. Dr. Rachel Kim worked around the clock to perfect humanity's quantum jump technology. Her breakthrough had made these rapid campaigns possible. Ships could appear anywhere, in the galaxy instantly, strike hard, then vanish before reinforcements could arrive. We can now jump entire fleets simultaneously, she reported to the War Council. The Federation will never be able to predict where we'll strike next. The Federation leadership met in emergency session on their capital world. Chancellor Vextar's silver face showed the strain of watching his empire crumble. War Commander Thysol looked defeated, his reptilian features dark with shame. High Mind Silaeth remained silent, her telepathic abilities still recovering from her disastrous encounter with human minds. We have lost control of 47 star systems in the past month, Vextar reported. These humans are liberating every world they can find. Our garrison forces are not strong enough to stop them. We should negotiate, suggested Counselor Rathika of the peaceful Yeltani. Perhaps we can reach an agreement that allows both sides to coexist. Thysol slammed his clawed fist on the council table. Negotiate with primitives? Never. We will use the planet killers. If we cannot rule these worlds, then no one will. The decision was made to deploy the Federation's most terrible weapons. Planet killer missiles that could destroy entire worlds would be used against any system that resisted Federation rule. If they could not maintain their empire, they would turn it to ash. Commander Nina Foster was leading a patrol near the Christek homeworld when her sensors detected the incoming planet killer missile. The weapon was massive, larger than most ships, and carried enough destructive power to crack a planet's crust. All ships, intercept course now, she ordered. We cannot let that thing reach the surface. Foster's squadron raced to intercept the weapon, but they were not fast enough. The missile would reach the planet before they could stop it. Millions of innocent Christek would die to satisfy Federation pride. That was when Foster made a decision that changed the course of the war. Instead of trying to destroy the missile, she used her ship's quantum jump system to redirect it. The planet-killer weapon vanished from its course toward the Christek homeworld and reappeared in the heart of a Federation military base. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. The Federation's most secure military installation was reduced to atomic dust by their own weapon. Hundreds of thousands of Federation soldiers died in the blast they had intended for innocent civilians. The message was clear. Humanity would not allow genocide, even if it meant turning the Federation's weapons against them. General Pete Martinez coordinated the liberation campaigns from his headquarters on Mars. A veteran of the First War against the Federation, he understood that this conflict was about more than military victory. It was about hope. "Every world we free sends a message to the rest of the galaxy," he explained to his staff. "The Federation is not invincible. Freedom is possible. People can fight back and win." The Federation made their last stand at the fortress world of Cathara, Prime. The planet was surrounded by defense platforms and protected by the largest fleet they could assemble. Every species in the Federation had contributed ships to this final battle. Admiral Sullivan led the human assault personally. Her flagship, Defiance, jumped directly into the heart of the Federation formation, followed by 800 other human ships. The battle was brutal and desperate, with both sides knowing that this would decide the war's outcome. Human weapons had been specifically designed to counter Federation technology. Each shot from a human ship could penetrate defenses that had protected alien vessels for centuries. Federation return fire was absorbed by human shields that adapted to every attack. The turning point came when Captain Danny Wright led his squadron in a suicide run against the Federation command ship. His destroyer, damaged and leaking atmosphere, used its final quantum jump to appear inside the enemy flagship's bridge. "For humanity!" Wright shouted as his ship's reactor overloaded. The explosion took out the Federation's command structure and left their fleet leaderless. Human ships pressed their advantage, destroying or capturing every enemy vessel in the system. As the smoke cleared, Admiral Sullivan found herself in command of the most strategic world in Federation space. The aliens who had once rejected humanity as too primitive now watched their greatest fortress fall to human ingenuity and courage. President Chen received the surrender offer 3 days later. Chancellor Vexitar's image appeared on the communication screen, his silver face showing defeat and exhaustion. "The Galactic Federation formally requests terms for ending hostilities," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Chen looked at the alien who had once dismissed humanity with contempt. Now that same being was begging for mercy from the species he had tried to quarantine. "We'll discuss terms," Chen replied, "but they will include freedom for every oppressed species in the galaxy. The age of Federation tyranny is over." As he ended the transmission, Chen reflected on how far humanity had come. 20 years ago, they had been rejected as unworthy of joining galactic civilization. Now they were reshaping that civilization according to principles of freedom and equality that the Federation had never understood. The war was nearly over, but the real work of building a better galaxy was just beginning. The Great Council chamber looked very different than it had 25 years ago. The same 12 platforms still surrounded the central stage, but now they were occupied by beings in chains rather than proud representatives of a galactic empire. Chancellor Vextar knelt on the floor where Dr. Hayes had once stood to plead for humanity's acceptance. President Chen walked slowly around the circle of defeated Federation leaders. Each one had played a role in humanity's rejection and quarantine. Each one had ordered attacks on innocent species across the galaxy. Each one now waited to learn their fate at the hands of the primitives they had once dismissed. War Commander Thisal kept his reptilian head bowed, unable to meet the eyes of the humans who had destroyed his mighty fleets. Highmind Scylla remained silent, her telepathic abilities still damaged from her encounters with chaotic human thoughts. The other Federation leaders showed various degrees of fear, shame, and desperate hope. Admiral Sullivan stood beside, The president, her uniform bearing decorations from a dozen liberation campaigns. Behind her were the heroes of humanity's war for freedom. Captain Morrison, who had led the ground assault on Altair Prime. Commander Foster, who had turned the Federation's own weapons against them. Dr. Clark, whose AI systems had outthought the galaxy's greatest military minds. Dr. Hayes, now the Secretary of Galactic Affairs, read the charges against the Federation leadership. Her voice was calm and professional, but everyone in the chamber could hear the emotion underneath. Genocide against the Verdani colonies, biological experiments on sentient beings, enslavement of entire species for economic gain, the use of planet-killer weapons against civilian targets. The list went on for nearly an hour. Centuries of oppression and cruelty had finally come to light as freed species shared their stories of Federation rule. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Chancellor Vextar finally spoke, his silver face wet with tears. "We expected you to destroy us," he whispered. "We expected the same fate we would have given you." President Chen nodded. "I know you did. That's the difference between us." The president walked to the center of the chamber and activated the holographic display. Images filled the air showing the galaxy as it existed now. Hundreds of worlds were free for the first time in centuries. Species that had been enslaved were rebuilding their civilizations. Children who had never known freedom were playing in streets no longer patrolled by Federation soldiers. "The Terran Commonwealth offers the following terms," Chen announced. "The Galactic Federation will be dissolved immediately. All member species will govern themselves as independent nations. All enslaved peoples will be freed and given reparations for their suffering." The Federation leaders looked up in surprise. They had expected execution or eternal imprisonment. Instead, they were being offered something they had never shown others: mercy. "War criminals will face trial for their actions," Chen continued. "But those who cooperate in the transition to freedom will be treated fairly. Your people will not be punished for the actions of their leaders." Admiral Sullivan stepped forward to address the military commanders. "Your fleets will be disbanded. Your weapons of mass destruction will be destroyed. But your home worlds will be protected, and your civilians will be safe." Dr. Hayes spoke to the civilian leaders. "Humanitarian aid will be provided to help rebuild the worlds damaged by this war. Medical supplies, food, and construction materials will be freely given to any who need them." The chamber fell silent as the Federation leaders absorbed what they were hearing. The humans were not seeking revenge. They were not planning to replace the Federation with a human empire. They were offering genuine freedom and cooperation. Counselor Rethika of the Yeltani was the first to speak. Her people had been among the more peaceful members of the Federation, forced into cruelty by their stronger allies. "Why?" she asked simply. "We rejected you. We tried to destroy you. Why show us mercy?" President Chen smiled sadly. "Because 25 years ago we learned what it feels like to be judged unfairly. We learned what it means to be isolated and alone. We will not make others suffer as we did." Captain Morrison addressed the chamber from his position in the human delegation. "We did not fight this war to become the new oppressors. We fought it to ensure that no species would ever again be told they are unworthy of respect." Over the following months, the transformation of galactic civilization proceeded faster than anyone had expected. Human ships appeared throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors but as helpers. They brought medical supplies to worlds ravaged by war. They provided protection to species learning to defend themselves. They shared technology freely with anyone who asked. Commander Wright, recovered from his injuries in the final battle, led humanitarian missions to former Federation worlds. His ships carried food and medicine instead of weapons. The Destroyer, captain who had once fought the Federation's fleets, now worked to heal the wounds of war. Dr. Kim's quantum technology became the foundation for a new galactic communication network. Instead of being controlled by a central authority, the network was open to all species as equals. Information flowed freely between worlds that had once been isolated by Federation restrictions. The AI systems created by Dr. Clark were shared with every species in the galaxy. The artificial minds that had once given humanity a military advantage now helped coordinate relief efforts and scientific research. Alien scientists worked alongside human researchers to solve problems that no single species could handle alone. 5 years after the war's end, the galaxy had become unrecognizable. The rigid hierarchy of the Federation had been replaced by voluntary cooperation between hundreds of species. Trade flowed freely between worlds that chose to participate. Scientific knowledge was shared openly instead of being hoarded by the powerful. Ambassador Linda Hayes stood before the rebuilt Galactic Council, addressing representatives from over 100 species. The chamber was filled with beings who had once been enemies, slaves, or strangers. Now they worked together as equals in a community built on mutual respect. 25 years ago, humanity came to this chamber seeking acceptance, she said. We were rejected because you judged us to be primitive and unworthy. Today I stand before a galaxy transformed by the simple idea that all sentient beings deserve freedom and respect. The Altarian delegate stood to speak. His people had been among the first to be liberated by human forces. The humans could have established their own empire after defeating the Federation. Instead, they chose to give freedom to everyone. This is true wisdom. A Christek representative, her silicon body glowing with emotions that had been suppressed for centuries, added, her voice. My people were slaves for so long we had forgotten what freedom meant. The humans did not just break our chains. They taught us how to walk as free beings again. Even some former Federation leaders had found new roles in the transformed galaxy. Chancellor Vextar now worked with human aid organizations, using his scientific knowledge to help develop new medical technologies for species the Federation had once oppressed. I spent 3 centuries believing that some species were naturally superior to others, he admitted to Dr. Hayes during one of their meetings. The humans proved that the only superiority that matters is the strength to show mercy to your enemies. The ceremony, marking the 5th anniversary of peace, took place on Earth, in the same city where humanity had once planned their desperate defense against Federation invasion. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to celebrate not human victory, but galactic freedom. President Chen, now older and grayer but still carrying the weight of leadership, spoke to the assembled delegates. We learned something important. During our years of isolation, being rejected and alone taught us the value of acceptance and community. Every species deserves a place among the stars. As the celebration continued into the night, Jake Morrison stood on a balcony overlooking the city. The streets below were filled with beings from dozens of worlds, all celebrating together in peace. The young captain, who had once brought news of humanity's rejection, could hardly believe how much had changed. Dr. Hayes joined him on the balcony, looking up at the stars that now welcomed human ships as friends, rather than fearing them as invaders. Do you think it will last? She asked. This peace we've built? Morrison nodded. It will last because we built it on the right foundation. Not conquest or control, but respect and cooperation. That's something worth fighting to preserve. Above them, the stars shone down on a galaxy where no species was considered unworthy, where no being was told they could not reach for the stars, where the strength to show mercy had proven more powerful than any weapon. The humans who had once been rejected as too primitive to join galactic civilization had become the teachers who showed the galaxy what civilization really meant.